Peace of mind is not a luxury, it is the foundation of a successful life. In the modern world, we are often sold the lie that if we worry enough, we can somehow prevent disaster. We treat anxiety like a shield, believing that if we imagine every possible failure, we might be safe from it. But as a professional in human performance, I can tell you this: worry is a thief that pays no rent. It consumes your energy, erodes your health, and blinds you to the very opportunities that could save you. Today, I share the story of Sebastian and his journey from the prison of what if to the freedom of it is what it is. Sebastian lived in a beautiful coastal town in Northern California, managing a heritage vineyard of 3 generations. By all external measures, Sebastian was a successful man, intelligent, hardworking, and deeply devoted to his craft. However, if you looked closely into his eyes, you wouldn't see the peace of the hills or the clarity of the ocean. Instead, you would see a storm brewing because Sebastian was a chronic worrier. He didn't just think about the future, he suffered through it before it even arrived. Every morning, Sebastian would wake up at 4 o'clock as his mind began its daily interrogation. He worried if the frost would kill the late harvest or if supply chain issues would prevent the new barrels from arriving. He feared his children would want nothing to do with the land and he would be the one to let the legacy die. These thoughts were not mere passing clouds but heavy, suffocating mists that followed him through every row of vines. This constant state of high alert took a devastating toll on his physical health and mental well-being. At 45, Sebastian looked 60 with thinning hair and shoulders that were permanently hunched. His wife Elena and his 2 children felt like they were living with a ghost in their own home. Sebastian was physically present at the dinner table, but his spirit was miles away fighting imaginary fires. The joy had leaked out of their home, replaced by a tense silence for fear of triggering his calculations of doom. The breaking point came during an unusually dry summer when the fear of drought became Sebastian's obsession. He stopped eating, his sleep became a series of short, panicked naps, and eventually, his body simply shut down. He collapsed in the fermentation room and woke up in a hospital bed, stripped of his ability to manage anything. It was there that he was visited by Father Sterling, a longtime family friend known for his profound stillness. Father Sterling sat by the bed and didn't offer platitudes or promises that everything would be fine. Instead, he asked how many of the catastrophes Sebastian had spent 20 years preparing for had actually happened. Sebastian stayed silent for a long time, going back through the mental archives of his panic. He realized the greatest tragedies of his life, like the sudden passing of his brother, were things he never worried about. Meanwhile, thousands of hours spent worrying about market crashes or pestilence had yielded nothing but gray hair. The things he feared most never happened, and the things that actually happened were never on his list. Father Sterling said gently that Sebastian was trying to play God by taking the weight of the universe on his shoulders. He reminded him that human shoulders were only built to carry the weight of today. Sebastian had spent his life trying to control the wind and rain, yet forgot to enjoy the sunshine provided to him. Father Sterling recalled how Sebastian met Elena without any planning, a beautiful love that simply fell into his lap. That conversation was the seed of a total transformation in the soul of the weary man. When he returned to the vineyard, Sebastian didn't become lazy but became mindfully detached. He realized his life was divided into 2 categories: his responsibilities and the final results. His responsibility was to prune the vines, enrich the soil, and manage his team with kindness. The result, like the weather or the global economy, was left to the great unknown, or providence. He began a daily practice of asking if he could influence a worrying thought right at that moment. If the answer was yes, he took action. If no, he opened his palms and left it to a higher power. He learned to trust that the force keeping stars in orbit could handle a California drought. A year later, a real crisis hit when a massive wildfire threatened the entire year's crop with smoke. In the past, this would have caused a breakdown, but this time Sebastian remained remarkably different. He coordinated staff safety, moved equipment, and then sat on his porch watching the orange sky. He was calm because he knew that losing his mind would not clear the smoky air. He realized that even if he lost the crop, he still had his life, his family, and his integrity. Worrying wouldn't save a single grape, but staying calm would save his very soul. The results were miraculous as his mental clarity led to a new filtration technique that saved part of the harvest. His health returned, his marriage flourished, and he finally tasted the wine he worked so hard to produce. The lesson of Sebastian's life is a blueprint for all of us in this age of information overload. Do not pay interest on a debt you may never owe by spending your vital energy on worry. To stop worrying is not an act of negligence but an act of supreme courage to trust in life. Do your absolute best with what is in front of you and have the faith to leave the rest to the stars.